Hey everyone, it's Mace1370. Today we are going to go over my RTA games as I climb to Legend. So I played a few more games since the previous video, and we were able to just cross the point cutoff. I think there actually are not 100 people in Legend right now, so if you just get to 2400, you're going to be in Legend for, at least the next few days. And then once enough people enter Legend, then you're just going to have to be top 100 in addition to over 2500. So I've managed to do it with a fairly decent win rate, but it's still early in the season and we have a long ways to go. Angelica of Light has just come out and she did shake up the meta a little bit, so kind of trying to learn how to draft her and also draft against her. That's still a learning process, so she'll be in a few of the games. So let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, so game one here, about 50 points away from Legend. I have first pick, so I pre-ban Basar. I haven't changed my pre-ban strategy yet, but now that Angel of Light Angelica is out, that may have to happen. For now, I'm just letting her through. I want experience playing against her and also picking her, and depending on how more testing goes, that might inform me to change my mind and start pre-banning her in certain scenarios. My first pick falls on Cecilia because this will give me access to tea time later in the draft if I want. And also, a lot of mitigation. I think FCC is a really strong first pick still. The opponent takes Amelia and Angel of Light Angelica. So, one way I could handle this is I could take Politis, and then I could go fairly aggressive. So that's what I decided to do. And because the opponent has Amelia, I'm going to need to go over the top, so I need to pick something that can give me first turn. And I think tea time is a pretty reasonable option here. Amelias are pretty low res, so I don't have to worry about, getting resisted. In general. My tea time also has like a good bit of effectiveness on her as well. She's around like 286 or 288 I think, so I'm also fairly confident that she will be faster than the enemy Angelica. I don't think most people have their Angelicas built above like 280 or so. So the opponent takes General Purgus and Seaside Bologna. So they're not really speed contesting me. So at this point I need to take damage. I should probably build up more single target damage threats, since there's nothing hiding in stealth, for me in this draft, and so I feel like single damage threats could be, potentially good. I also don't have any like boosters or anything like that on my team, so maybe units like Luna might be a little too weak in this scenario. We'll see. I'll have to build them up and test them out, but I think Luna is next up on my docket of units to build. Either way, I need damage here. Options, I could take RB, I could take Pavel, I could take Strays, could take Spectre Tenebria. I decided to go Pavel and RB. Even though the opponent has Angelica, I think Pavel's okay here, since I don't think they can afford to ban the Politis. And even if they do ban the Politis, I'll have Tea Time Tenebria to counteract the Angelica a little bit. So the opponent takes Rem last. So at this point I think I need to ban either Rem or Seaside Bologna. The Rem pick indicates to me that they're banning Pavel. I don't think they would take another unit weak to Pavel if they weren't planning on banning him. So I think I need to ban one of those. So he bans Pavel. I have RB here. RB should do a lot of damage to this team because he will pretty much reliably get both of his turns, right? Since the opponent's not really speed contesting me. So we get first turn with Tea Time, and I'm just going to use the skill 3. So this applies 2 debuffs to everyone, assuming that they hit, and then Angel of Light Angelica will cleanse away the unbuffable, and then put up skill null. And then that triggers my Politis to go and removes the skill null. So everyone's provoked on the enemy team. We get a bat back from SSB, which triggers the Tea Time Tenebria to use, her shuffle ability. GP is a bit of a problem because he pushes, a couple of the units forward, and they cycle out of their debuffs a bit. I want to put out just a little bit more damage here on Angel of Light. Maybe, I think actually probably would have been better to go into the SSB because she was def broken. I just didn't want to get a miss because, she's a blue unit. But I think going into SSB was more worth there. But either way, I wanted to get a little more damage out in Soulburn because that would allow Politis' passive to be back online. for when Amelia gets a turn. So we can skill 3 with Arby here, and this is really just going to rip the team apart since he has no mitigation.
This is a formidable opponent.
I can go for the provoke here on Amelia, or I can skill 3. The SSB is defense broken, so it's very tempting to go for the skill 3, but I decided just to go for the provoke. I was afraid that if I didn't finish off SSB and then Amelia got a turn, she would, be able to cleanse and put SSB out of kill reach for me. So I really wanted to just lock down the opponent's healing since SSB is really almost dead here. We get a nice dual attack from Arby, and that pretty much seals the deal now that SSB is gone. We gab with Arby, which always helps, so that's game. Okay, next up, I think we have second pick this game, so I ban Tea Time Tenebria. The opponent pre-bans Fallen Cecilia, which probably means they're going aggressive. They first pick Politis, which probably means they're doing a cleave or something like that. So I haven't run into a first pick Politis in a while, not 100% sure what to do. But I assume they're cleaving, so I think taking mitigation here is pretty reasonable. You could take something like Crow or Crimson Armin, and I think actually maybe just taking Angel of Light Angelica so I don't have to play against her. I don't know if that's great into Politis, probably not, but I don't know, I guess I'll try it. My intent here is to ban the Politis if I can. I kind of assumed that there was a Angel of Light Angelica coming if I didn't take her though. So the opponent confirms they are cleaving with a Pavel and a Flan pick. So those are both pretty speedy units, but no speed imprints on my opponent's side, so I can probably fight back with some speed of my own. I could also take Sage Ball. I think that's another, option, since other than Politis, they don't have a strip. So Sage Ball, I think, could be good since he'll, keep pushing up, and he's on Proof of Valor, so he's pretty tanky, especially with Crimson Armin. I'm not worried about him dying, and I think it'd be kind of difficult for Pavel to deal with him. So I take Sage Ball, and then I just decide to go with Acid, the speed contest.
Shall we go?
The opponent takes Green Vildred, so they have a speed imprint now.
Shall I attack?
And Green Sid, so they have 2 speed imprints. So I can't ban both speed imprints, so there's a pretty decent shot that my Acid here is going to get outsped no matter what I do. So I think a better play for me is just to ban away Politis or Pavel, and then just let him have first turn, and it won't be as impactful as it could have been because he's picking these speed imprints. His team also seems weak to Degen RB, so I decided just to take that because if RB comes back, that could be bad news for him. Degen RB also should not die to Pavel skill 2, so I think Degen RB is a good pick in this situation. So Degen RB gets banned, and we're left with Acid, ML Ball, and Angel of Light Angelica.
You'll regret this.
So the opponent does get the first turn with their Flan,
You're not very good.
so those speed imprints coming in handy for him. But my Acid is going to cut in between.
Excuse me. Cut.
So I think he needs to kill the Acid. He goes on Ball, but I'm not really worried about Ball dying, so Ball pushes up. We could skill 2 here, but the opponent concedes, so it doesn't even matter.
As long as I'm holding this spear, I won't back down.
Okay, so in this match, the opponent gets the first turn. Tea Time Tenebria and Basara pre-banned. The opponent takes Fallen Cecilia. So one potential opener I've been trying out is Maid and Carmen in response to a first pick FCC. I think it's a fairly flexible start if you're second pick, because Carmen offers so much mitigation. It's hard for them to be aggressive into Carmen. She also, she's a gold unit, right? So she doesn't have an elemental weakness like Blue Crow, for example, or something like that. And, more importantly, she's not dark, so she doesn't suffer from Little Queen Charlotte. And then, Maid obviously has a lot of sustain, attack buff, etc. So I feel like this start is really good into kind of like medium tempo aggressive teams and also into bruiser teams. I guess it's weak to debuff since, you have a cleanse with Maid, but beyond that, you don't really have any way to deal with debuffs. So they take Spectre Tenebria and Angel of Light Angelica. This is kind of an annoying combo for us to deal with since Spectre, you need AoE damage to kill her, and Angel of Light Angelica is pretty much explicitly anti-AoE. So this could be kind of the new like Spectre G-Purg type combo where you take Spectre with a unit that discourages AoE. And to be honest, I'm not really sure how to deal with this. I think Landy is not bad. I also wanted to take Landy so I didn't have to deal with Landy. Since I have Maid, I feel like Landy would have been problems for me. And then I wanted to test out ML Tywin against Angel of Light Angelica. I felt like his passive cleansing could help. Also it gives me a little bit of reach for the Spectre. If I can stun and slow her, it could slow down the enemy team and allow my Landy to, really start grinding out damage. The opponent takes Seaside Bellona, which I'm not, super upset to see. I have Carmen, and Carmen puts immunity on everyone, and that's, I think, a really good way of dealing with Seaside Bellona, since a lot of her threat comes from, defense breaks and stuff, and so if you can prevent that from happening, she doesn't do nearly as much. Now, granted, the opponent does have Angelica, so they could strip away my stuff, so that's something to think about. And then the opponent takes General Purgus, so this is another unit that kind of discourages AoE here. So I think my options are I can I can post-ban Spectre and take a single target damage unit and try and, adapt to the fact that my opponent is, pretty aggressively taking anti-AoE units. I could also ban Angel of Light Angelica since I don't have a ton of cleanse, and I've put myself in a spot where I kind of need to take a damage dealer. So I figured Apoc Ravi is okay. She has Crimson Seed, so she can cleanse a little bit. And she's single target, so she's not going to, be triggering G-Purg and Angel of Light Angelica. And then I ban out the Spectre. The opponent bans out Ravi. So I'm left with Landy as my only damage dealer. And, that can be okay. One issue here is that the opponent's going to have a lot of skill nulls, and so they're going to have a lot of momentum on their side in the beginning, which I'm going to have to overcome. The first time I land these skill 3s, that puts up a skill null. There's probably going to be a skill null in place before I even do that from Fallen Cecilia, so I'm basically going to do no damage for a couple cycles here and give the opponent free reign to just turn cycle and do stuff. So they skill 3 with Angel of Light Angelica. Luckily they miss on the Maid, so if G-Purg uses skill 3 here, it's going to cleanse off the silence.
Are you ready to order?
I don't have souls because I didn't draft a book, so I can't Soulburn Maid. We're just going to have to skill 1 and, move on to next turn.
Just follow my lead.
This unbuffable on Landy is kind of tragic. I want to hold my Tywin here because I want to be able to Soulburn it, and I also want immunity to fall off SSB so I can, potentially get a debuff on her. Just go into Angel of Light Angelica. I don't want her silencing my Maid and keeping my Maid locked down for the entire game. Then I provoke the
To back out next.
FCC so that I can't
accept your duel.
you know, have my Landy provoked again,
This is what you get
or have the opponent put up skill null with her.
for ruining my vacation.
So pretty unfortunately for me, my Landy gets defense broken. And then the opponent also hits with Seaside Bologna and puts buff block on her.
I'll show you
So
what
that's
I can do.
super bad for me.
I'll show you the real deal.
We can skill 3 here with Maid and cleanse away most of the debuffs.
Careful.
But Landy still has heal block, so she's still kind of unhealthy. Tywin gets pushed back, silenced, and provoked, so he's not really going to be of much use. And you can see, like, I'm just kind of getting controlled here, and I can't do anything about it. Luckily, my Carmen resists, so I can hopefully put up immunity here at least.
There's no way I can lose.
But because my Landy's provoked, like, she's not going to get to skill 3, so I can't really get my damage rolling either.
Well, I'm left with no choice. I will deliver unto
And super unfortunate for me, Angel of Light Angelica has rotated back around to her skill 3, so he can strip away a lot of my buffs.
Start with something light.
He gets rid of the revive buff on Landy, which is super bad. I also don't go into Guiding Light. I'm not even sure if I could have gone into Guiding Light, because I had Unbuffable before, and I think it did trigger while I was Unbuffable, but I can't remember if I cycled around or not. Either way, the Seaside Bologna hits again, so I think I got a little bit unlucky in that Seaside hit Landy, you know, like back to back, and fully debuffed her.
Honor their wishes.
So that was pretty crippling for me. But I also think I kind of misdrafted this a bit. Tywin has just done nothing here, right? I haven't even like skill 3'd with him.
I'll make sure you feel the pain of losing everyone you love.
So my only way of winning at this point is just to kind of stall and bring back Landy, maybe. But it's not looking good because I can put out essentially no damage. And that means that Angel of Light Angelica is just going to chain,
Back out now.
you know, skill 3 me and just lap around and completely control me. So I'm pretty much dead here.
Please don't tell me.
I think if I was going to redo this draft, I would just ban Angel of Light, and I think I would have been fine.
Now.
You know, I think with Carmen and Maid, I could have just tanked out the Spectre damage.
So, you learned nothing from last time.
Alternatively, I should have brought in some debuffers for Angel of Light. Or cleansers, I should say.
At your positions.
I'll end this quick.
And yeah, here again, you can just see that Tywin is not enough for all of these debuffs.
I won't go easy on you. I'm not cheap. Well, I'm left with no choice.
Oh, yeah, we missed the stun, so I concede. Okay, in this game we get our opener with the first pick Fallen Cecilia. This time the opponent has pre-banned Landy, which usually means that they're going to pick Maid. So they take Spectre, they hover Bisaria, and then they end up going with Maid after all. So because we don't have access to Maid, there's a couple of different ways I think you could handle this. One strategy could be to take ML Haste and try to go a little bit more on the Bruiser route, essentially setting up your team so that you can kill one and start the cycle with Haste to take out the Maid. Another thing I could do is I could take Politis here and then go aggressive. Politis can be a problem for Soul Weavers in general, since it just puts a lot of pressure on them, you know, if they use their heals. So I do that. I take Tea Time Tenebria as well, so I have a couple books, and I have quite a bit of control with the Tea Time. The opponent takes Champ Z and Designer Lilibet, which is pretty interesting. So the opponent does not have a lot of mitigation, and I feel like they've overcommitted to debuffs, or debuff counters at this point, so I can just take damage. So I take Pavel, he can blow something up. And I could take Arby, I could take Strays. I think I lean more towards Strays here because Arbiter Vildred would blind on his skill 3, and that could cause Pavel to counter more. But I think Arby's probably okay here as well, to be honest. Strays has the advantage of like just deleting something out the gate, and since the opponent does not have any high HP units other than Maid, I think Strays can just delete Maid. So I go with Strays. Then the opponent takes Rem, so we can just ban Rem. I think Rem would be pretty annoying for us. Typically when you see a Rem last pick like this, it means they're banning Pavel. Because if they don't, Rem just gets blown up, right? So I ban out the Rem, he bans the Pavel. You know, I have quite a bit of AoE on my team, and some of my damage is coming from Politis, and she's red, so I think Rem would kind of be a disaster for me. Also, if Rem counters and strips away invulnerability from Strays, then that's really bad news. So we skill 3 here,
Don't you think?
and we're going to see what happens. So Champ Z is on proof. He counters back. We don't really get a whole lot. We get a provoke on Lilibet. We miss on Spectre, which is unfortunate. But we get to skill 3 with Strays here, and this just deletes the Maid as we predicted.
Honor their wishes.
So here we can skill 3 with Fallen Cecilia. I've rebuilt her so that she's not damage anymore, she's just tank and speed and effectiveness. So I think if we had damage here, we'd just kill the Spectre. So that would be a point, I guess, towards the damage build. But I'm really liking the effectiveness on her in terms of controlling crowds and stuff like that, so I think it's worth it for now. I'm going to soul burn at least once here with Politis, mostly just because I want to get damage on Champ Z. Politis is skill 1 stuns, but he's immune to stuns, so I don't have to worry about him countering. I can also kind of tick down his Proof of Valor stacks. But we have both Invulnerable and Skill Null on Strays, so he's going to lap around and, you know, probably get a skill 2 off at some point. So I just dump my souls into Champ Z to try to get him low. Because I'm pretty sure this skill 3 here is going to kill Spectre since there's no mitigation. So Spectre does indeed die. Champ Z counters again. We do get hit down on Designer Lilibet, but she, I think, you know, cleanses that away with her skill 3. So she does reset the Strays, which is pretty annoying. We have a poison on our skill 1 here, so we can just S1 Lilibet. We don't want to give that to Champ Z and give him a free counter.
This is it. Final strike.
He skill 3 here, uses that and gets defense down, or defense break on our F10E. I use Strays to attack into Champ Z because, again, no debuffs, so we can just attack into him for free. We can provoke the Lilibet. We can go into Champ Z again here because, again, there's no chance that he'll get debuffed. This will trigger a counter from F10E, which would not cause a counter from Champ Z because her attack is, you know, like an extra attack or counter attack or whatever you want to call it. So he only counters when he's, you know, hit directly. I don't, you know, soul burning here doesn't really matter. I think this just kills. So that's game.
This is the path on which I belong.
As long as I'm holding this spear, I won't back down.
Okay, so in this game, the opponent has pre-banned Spectre Tenebria. I get to first pick FCC. They take Landy and Emilia. So Spectre and Landy are both off the table, which are kind of the DPS that you typically see people draft early in the game. So I have a few options here. Because the opponent has taken Emilia, I think Politis is a really strong pick. I think Politis is really good into Emilia. You do have to play aggressively, as I mentioned, though. And I feel like this is a good chance to test out Angel of Light Angelica. Since we have Politis, so we're kind of going aggressive. Angel of Light Angelica fits into that aggressive playstyle. We're going to get a ton of skill nulls. You know, if Landy ever takes a turn, that triggers and puts up a skill null. We'll have skill null from FCC. So the opponent is going to have quite a bit to fight through in terms of, you know, dealing with our team. And then we can use our last 2 picks to take, you know, some strong DPS that just blow the opponent up. We also have the looming threat of Tea Time Tenebria, and this is one of the reasons I like taking FCC early. I feel like opponents always have to think in the back of their mind, you know, will they take Tea Time? How am I going to deal with that if it happens? Granted, at this point, we've kind of taken 2 semi-low, you know, like low damage units. Politis has some damage, but she's not exactly a DPS powerhouse, and Angel of Light Angelica doesn't really do any damage at all, so if we take Tea Time, we essentially have no damage, so I don't think they'd have to worry about us taking Tea Time at this point. Either way, they take Kitty Clarissa and Blue Crow, so I think the Kitty here is to deal with our Angel of Light Angelica. She's presumably very high effect resistance, so that's okay. I don't really mind Kitty Clarissa. You know, we do have Politis on our side, so if Kitty uses her skill 3, that's going to trigger Politis, which is bad for the opponent. I take Pavel here, because I think Pavel will, you know, blow something up, probably Amelia. And we have one more damage pick. I think it's either Arby or Strays, and I think Strays is good here. He's pretty fast, so he should outspeed everything on board so far except for Amelia. And I don't think Amelia can really safely use her skill 2 with Politis. So I think we've cornered the opponent in, since we can ban out their last pick, which is Rem. And no matter what they ban, I think we're going to have a strong opener. If they ban Strays, we get to open with Pavel. If they ban Pavel, we get to open with Strays. And even if they outspeed Strays with Amelia, Amelia can't use her ability because of Politis. So I think that's all good news for us. So here, you know, the plan is that we delete Crow with Strays, and then we basically just blow Landy up with Politis. And then the opponent has no more damage. So we get turn 1, and it looks like our Strays also outspeeds the Amelia, which is nice. So we can go ahead and use our skill 3 here from Angel of Light Angelica. Puts up some silences, and as predicted, Kitty Clarissa does resist. But I don't think it even matters here, because we get to delete Crow and do, you know, a decent amount of damage to everybody else. Landy counterattacks, because counterset Landy always counterattacks. You know, I don't care if it says 20% in-game, it's like 99%. Kitty Clarissa uses her ability here, and we get to boost up with Politis.
Will you play with Meow? The situation is critical.
And now we have a bunch of souls we can just dump into Landy. We land the stun, which is nice. With no evasion, or sorry, with no mitigation, we're doing a good amount of damage, so we're just going to be able to kill her here. And that's game. Okay, this time the opponent pre-bans Angel of Light Angelica, so we can't use that. I think FCC is still a good pick here.
You want to try me?
So the opponent goes Spectre Tenebria, and then General Purgus. So this is an interesting start. You don't see a ton of General Purgus picks so early these days. Some people are still doing it though. Another thing you do see is G-Purg is being built in, you know, kind of multiple ways now. I think before you were always seeing him built really fast with some crit damage, using him as an attack buff opener. Now I think some people are also building him just really high effectiveness. I think still speedy enough, you know, to get the attack buff up and turn cycle and stuff. And some degens put him on like Champions Trophy for even more CC and effectiveness. So I take Landy and Maid here. I'm not really sure what type of G-Perk this is, but I feel like Maid is, you know, just like pretty strong in terms of giving me sustain. I'm not really sure what exactly the opponent is doing. They take Carrot. So Carrot's for our Landy, and hopefully, you know, with our Maid Chloe buffs and the FCC buffs, our Landy will stay hidden, and Carrot will not be able to capitalize, you know, on her soul burn, at least on the first turn. So now the opponent's taken Amelia. So I have a few options. I thought about taking Rem here, but I think Seaside Bologna is better. Seaside really punishes Amelia, because Amelia just makes your team's turn cycle so quickly. You're taking so many turns, you're giving SSB so many focus stacks. On the other hand, Rem is really kind of more RNG in terms of like she might be countering a lot or a little, depending on what your opponent's doing. So Rem is still good, but SSB is guaranteed value against Amelia, and I like that consistency. You know, there's also nothing really punishing SSB here so much, other than G-Perg. You know, which is fine, whatever. I'm pretty confident that my team can tank this. And then I pick Ruel, since on the off chance that he assassinates Landy, I just want to be able to bring her back. I have another cleanse here, you know, for CC and stuff like that as well. So I'm just kind of going full tank, you know, and relying on my bulk to just out-sustain this team. I think the opponent will probably have an advantage for the first couple turn cycles because, you know, Amelia pumps out a lot of offensive pressure, so does G-Perg, so does Carrot with Soulburn. So I basically just have to survive that, and I think if I do, I win. Charlotte is an almost untankable amount of damage, though, and indicated to me that they were banning Seaside Bologna, so I really needed to ban that out. I don't think I could tank Charlotte. I would also have trouble, you know, killing her with Landy. So, lo and behold, this is an Effectiveness General Purgus. He taunts Ruel right out the gate. Ruel is like 150 effect resistance or so. So he's probably has, you know, like 100 to 150 effectiveness. Could be more, could be like 200. But our Landy is still hidden from the Carrot, so we're safe there. So I could Soulburn, and honestly that, I mean, I could skill 3 here, and honestly that might be better just to push up the Spectre. But I wanted to go into Amelia here and provoke her. And the reason why is because, you know, Amelia hasn't used her abilities, and if I can keep her provoke locked, then I can probably just kill Spectre, honestly, with like 1 or 2 Landy skill 3s. And that'll take away really quite a bit of damage from the opponent, you know, from my opponent's side. Perhaps a bit of a risky play, since I guess if I didn't proc Guiding Light, then that's big bad news for me, since Spectre just soul burns away and kills my Landy. But I think I'll get another skill 3 off with Landy here next turn, so should be okay.
Say my name.
So my FCC gets stunned. General Purgus soul burns his skill 3. So he's going for some stuns also. He stuns Landy, but he doesn't stun Ruel. So that was kind of like the target he needed to stun. I just want to put more damage on Amelia here so that we can get her down before she's able to do anything. Because if we can kill Amelia, that's just like all of the opponent's sustain. So he burns Landy, but he doesn't strip Stealth. And he can't get through the shield, so he's not really going to be able to do much here with Carrot. I feel like Carrot does not do a lot into FCC plus Maid, because you put so many buffs up. I cleanse away Landy here, so that she'll be able to get her skill 3, and unfortunately, Carrot cycles out of her attack buff, so we don't get the cooldown reset just yet. But because we have speed buff, we lap, which is pretty pog. So it looks like Spectre is fishing for Landy, trying to get her out, because I think the opponent knows that if my Landy takes a turn, he's just gonzo. But I have Revive on her anyways, so I don't think Spectre would be able to do anything. So here we can skill 3, and this will kill Amelia for sure. Also, these speed buffs and CR pushes from Landy are helping, you know, my side cycle out of debuffs and prevent, you know, G-Perg from really controlling us too hard here. He's actually pretty squishy now that I look at it, so he's probably very high effectiveness.
As long as I'm holding
Debate about soul burning here.
I will.
I just used the skill 3. I figured I might want to soul burn Maid instead, just to cycle around to her skill 3 in case I needed to, you know, revive or debuff something. I figured that'd be better than soul burning FCC. But I don't think I have the souls to do that anyways. Either way, that's game.
As your queen.
Okay, so we have another Angelica pre-banner. He takes Amelia and Blue Crow.
Hesitate.
I feel like Landy is pretty good here because the opponent's taken 2 ice units, so I take Landy. And since I have Landy, I feel like I can just take Maid. You know, they're a good combo together.
The queen is here.
I like Maid against Crow as well because the revive buff cancels out his ability to horse things pretty easily, you know, and get value out of it. So it looks like he's considering taking Carrot here, probably to answer the Landy.
Shall I test?
I feel like whenever I take Carrot into Landy when the opponent also has FCC and Maid, it just feels a little underwhelming. It can be hard to bust through the shield and all the other buffs, you know, to actually get to the Landy and kill her. He also takes Rylet. I've noticed there's a lot of people on the Korea server who take Rylet. I guess it's pretty popular on that server. I'm not a huge fan. Like, I'll take him in certain situations, but here I feel like I have FCC, and I feel like that's kind of annoying if you take Rylet into FCC because she can put up skill null and trigger his passive and just kind of waste his skill 3, or the, you know, the extra skill 3 he gets. I take Seaside Bologna because, you know, as I mentioned earlier, I feel like she's good into Amelia via all the turn cycling. And I feel like I want another revive here in case he bans Maid. So I could take either Apocalypse Ravi or Crow. I kind of want to try Apoc again just to give myself a little bit more damage. I think probably Ruel is a better option here. Have to ban the Viseria because he could ban the Maid. He does that. And now I kind of wish that I had had Ruel instead. That would have maybe caused him to pick a different unit last, but I feel like Ruel probably would have just been better. You know, Apoc is going to rely on me getting one of his units low in order to do the revive. So Amelia gets the first turn here and boosts up Crow, which is kind of an interesting play, but it makes sense. You know, he can't get value out of Carrot just yet, so he can give Carrot the attack buff on, you know, the next cycle of her skill 2, and immunity will be off of Landy at that point anyways. Go into Amelia because I want to lock her down, and I want to save the skill 3 for Rylet. And then we get to activate Landy here, and hopefully we go into stealth. We do. So Carrot can skill 3 here, but she doesn't have attack buff, so I don't think she gets through barrier, which means that we're going to stay in stealth. But he does strip away the stealth, which is unfortunate.
I'll show you some results.
So he is able to go into Landy after all. But actually not that much damage, so I don't know if that's like a super tanky Carrot or what. Granted, I guess we did have the shield from FCC to mitigate some of the burst damage there from the Carrot. But our Landy is exposed because her stealth was stripped, So now Rylet is going to have free reign to just skill 3 into her, which is, I assume, what he does here.
Your pitiful resistance.
And yeah, that's pretty bad for us because I think if Landy had lived, we would have pumped out a good amount of damage, and he would have been pretty screwed. But actually our Landy survives with, it looks like literally 1 hit point. We can dunk with SSB here.
Bye-bye now.
And we hit the Rylet, which is always nice. We can skill 1 with Landy into Amelia to try to get her low.
Shall I test my theory?
So the timing's a little bit awkward here, since if he, it looks like he is killing the Landy.
It's too late.
But we get a bat back from SSB, which actually finishes off the Amelia. So it might have been a misplay for me to skill 1 the Amelia there with Landy. I probably should have gone into Crow.
Your dead comrades.
But now we're forced to skill 3 the Crow with Ravi. And I thought we'd kill, but we're just shy. So that's pretty much game for us, since now Crow can horse away APOC Ravi.
All troops, advance!
So almost 30k HP on that Crow. I guess it pays off here, because we were not able to kill.
Honor their wishes.
Also pretty awkward for us because the Rylet doesn't have enough stacks for us to trigger his passive.
And to destroy.
So I soul burn this.
Survive.
I still want to get the skill null put on my team because otherwise Rylet is going to be able to probably just delete FCC if I don't do that. He goes into SSB and puts hit debuff on her.
Statistically,
Carrot gets to skill 3 again.
on my side.
Hits on FCC but not on SSB. Can go into the Crow because we don't want to trigger the Rylet. But I guess that's going to happen anyways because SSB is going to bat back here.
Something light.
I was hoping that would kill, but it doesn't. He goes into SSB.
Has no place for you.
At least he has heal block, so he's not healing.
How long do you
But all those burns on FCC is no good. He puts blind up on her again,
You'll regret.
and we're not going to have the sustain to live now, so that's over.
Shall I have a go?
Okay, so in this match, the opponent pre-bans Landy. They have first pick,
As long
and they
as
take
I
Fallen Cecilia.
I won't back down.
So Spectre Tenebri is still available. She's a pretty flexible DPS option, so I can take her now. Also, given that Landy is pre-banned, I feel like that makes Maid kind of a safer pick in this spot, since one of the options to punish Maid is pre-banned. So we can take Maid. I do have to keep an eye out for ML Haste. You know, that is a potential counter into what I've, drafted so far. He takes a Tywin, which is pretty annoying. A Tywin has seen somewhat of a resurgence recently. I think a result of people building kind of lower ER on their Soul Weavers. So one potential way we can deal with him is to draft an immunity buffer, like Carmen or something like that. We haven't picked a knight yet, so that is a possibility. Then he takes Cowrick, so this is very interesting. I haven't really seen this opener before. Cowrick is quite the threat, though, because he's going to be faster than my team so far. He can carry Book and Soul Burn, a skill reset, essentially. So he can completely invalidate Maid or Carmen here, and that would be bad news. So I'm going to probably try to ban him if I can. And to be honest, I'm not really sure what my opponent is doing. It looks like he's taken some skill reset, some debuffs. So I feel like he's playing a little bit of like the control damage game. I just take SSB. I kind of run out of time, honestly. but I figured I can just, you know, either take another immunity buffer or something like that, and it'll be okay. I could have potentially taken like Holiday Eufiend maybe, because, you know, with the Guild Artifact on her, there's a good chance that the debuffs will miss, and then it gives me another cleanse I can use. Likewise, I think it'd be hard for Cowrick to skill reset her, so that would be an option. But he kind of transitions into a high damage cleave team here with Pavel and Sidom. I do have Crimson Armin on my side. I can take Assassin Sid, and that's a must ban since there's I think it's very unlikely that he's faster than Acid. And even if he's the same speed as a coin flip, so I feel like he has to ban Acid. I can ban the Cowrick. Looks like he's going to take the coin flip and take away my mitigation. So I feel like if I outspeed here, I just win. If I don't outspeed, it's going to be a little dicey. And it looks like he does outspeed. He's like 3% faster, which is still within the realm of speed RNG, but I think his Pavel's probably 300 plus. Chunks me really hard with Pavel there. He does go into Maid though and triggers her Water's Origin, which is going to push her up again and actually give me the turn. So I think that was kind of a mistake on his part. He probably should have gone for someone else so that his Sidom would get the turn. But I guess he wanted to delete the Maid there. The Sidom does cut my Acid, which is unfortunate. So now Sidom can push his team up. Luckily, my SSB and my Spectre still have immunity though, so I don't think Tywin is going to be able to do much right now. So he goes on the Maid. He wants to get rid of, you know, my sustain essentially, but then that gives Acid a turn, so I'm able to take out a target here. It honestly probably should have been Pavel, but I think I was afraid of Sidom getting pushed up again with, you know, crits and stuff from a Tywin, so I just delete the Sidom. I guess Pavel would be a good choice as well because he's green and SSB might just miss into him. But I figured like I could just finish him off with Spectre if I needed to. And this is an interesting Tywin build. He goes for the skill 3 even though he doesn't have souls. But he's able to land both debuffs on my Maid, so my Maid is like 170-ish res, I think. So this Tywin has a lot of effectiveness. At least probably 100, but also has crit damage. So I'm guessing he got a little lucky there with the debuffs on Maid. I think it'd be very hard to, you know, reach full crit chance, and so he either got lucky and crit or he got lucky and debuffed. I think one of the two. But either way, I don't think it particularly matters because he ripped his Tywin skills there, and so this is going to give me, I think, a chance to recover. So SSB is able to knock off the defense break here from Pavel. I don't want to soul burn this because I'm going to use the souls on Spectre. We do get lucky and hit the Pavel. Now we just soul burn and go into Tywin here. The Tywin is Holy Sacrifice, so he comes back, but that's okay because it kind of wastes his barrier. SSB bats back. Unfortunately, the buff block falls off of her, so she's able to put the shield back on, but his team is essentially dead. And he concedes.
This is a formidable opponent.
Alright, this time Maid is pre-banned. So fairly normal start so far. We have another A Tywin picker, which is interesting. This time I've already taken Fallen Cecilia, so I can't take Carmen. So I'm going to probably need to get immunity from some other source. Alternatives could be like Adventure Ross or Desert Jewel Bassar. Those are, you know, 2 immunity buffers. Also LR Crow. LR Crow, though, is kind of awkward to take into Blue Crow since you basically enable his horse super early. I decided to go with Spectre here since she hides from Crow, and Tywin might be able to reach her a little bit, but with Fallen Cecilia, I'll have a good amount of mitigation. And I debate about taking a different unit, but I figured, you know, let's just give DJB a try. He gives immunity for 3 turns, and it really prevents ML Tywin from doing, you know, much at all. I have him on the Amelia artifact to give him extra effect resistance, so I'm pretty confident in his ability to resist. The opponent takes Little Queen Charlotte, I guess to nuke my FCC,
Leave it to me.
and Landy. So Little Queen Charlotte does a decent amount for the opponent right now, gives extra mitigation, you know, with her passive Adamant Shield, and also gives the opponent the ability to just nuke away my FCC. So kind of want to ban her if I can. I want to take a threat for Landy, so I take Fire Charlotte. She puts out a bunch of damage and continuously knocks Landy out of stealth. I would like a revive as well, since the opponent has Crow on their side. So could do Ruel, could do a Ravi. And I've been wanting to test a Ravi more. So I figure, what the heck, let's go with a Ravi.
Step back, flies.
I was a little worried they would just ban DJB here, though, and then control me. But instead they take Rylet. So I think I do want to ban out the Little Queen Charlotte. You know, it's a pretty big nuke. I don't have anything that can shut her down and prevent it from happening. She could also nuke away my Ravi. I mean, to be honest, it's like probably a reason to take Ruel instead, since, you know, it doesn't open you up to the LQC. They ban away Fallen Cecilia. So they take away my mitigation. So their plan is to nuke DJ Bassar. He has, I think, built-in Adamant Shield now. So I'm hoping he survives. I think maybe, I guess in hindsight, like Water's Origin might be better. I've been trying to, I was, you know, wanted to run Amelia's artifact for the extra effect resistance. Because, you know, it also has a Water's Origin-like effect. But, you know, he'd be getting CR here with these attacks. Tragically, Landy dual attacks with the Tywin, which is omega bad for me, because that pushes up the rest of his team in front of my DJB, and this means that my DJB is probably going to die, since Crow can skill 2 into him, Rylet can skill 3 into him. So our Guardian's Crystal procs. Not sure if he'll live, but I assume not. Even with that Adamant Shield effect, I don't think it's enough. And he does die. So I think that was pretty unlucky, since we would have gotten a skill 3 off with DJB if Landy had not dual attacked there. We knock Landy out of stealth with Little Queen Charlotte, and then we stun her because we want to, you know, mitigate that damage as much as possible. So Tywin can skill 3 here kind of for free.
Now isn't the time to hesitate.
You know, and now our entire team is locked down. At least Charlotte kind of pushes herself out of it. He goes into Ravi and puts hit down on her.
Flies.
So I could go for the skill 3 on Landy here just to try to bring back DJB. But I have hit down, so I kind of like want to save it, I guess. So we just skill 1. We hit. I don't think we would have killed anyways with skill 3 there. It would have been close. But I guess our Ravi's just going to get controlled, so we probably should have just gone for it, honestly. So Spectre goes down. He provokes Little Queen Charlotte. Ravi attacks into Tywin.
Is how others control you.
Luckily, we do not get the blind there from Rylet, so our Ravi has not had to proc her Crimson Seed yet. Also, luckily, he doesn't land stun on Charlotte, so she's able to get a skill 3 in. So we fight back a bit here, but that early dual attack was just so crippling. Landy goes into stealth, but Tywin is low. We can execute him and get something back. We get Spectre Tenebria, which is pretty decent. I think either her or DJB, would both be good. DJB would have probably gotten the turn and could have pushed everybody up, and LQC would have, Charlotte would have gotten another turn. Unfortunately, we don't kill Crow. He's at 283 hit points. Very unfortunate. So now he's going to be able to execute someone.
Let's see how long you can endure.
So he executes Charlotte.
How long do you think you can last?
Rylet goes into Ravi. So I think I just want to kill the Crow here. I don't want to give Rylet any more, stacks than we need to. Crow dies. This triggers and goes into Ravi,
Ends here.
which I'm not sure if it really matters because I don't think Ravi was getting another turn either way. I think Rylet probably killed her. He lands the blind on Spectre, so I want to save my skill 3 for if I'm not blinded, so I just skill 1 here. Does not hit.
Fear is how
Maybe I should have just skill 3'd. If it hit, I guess it would have stunned, and that would have been pretty good. So probably should have just ripped the skill 3. But we rip it now. We basically need to hit here or we lose. I think I debate about skill 1ing again. No, I just skill 3. But we miss, so that's going to be game. Since now Riley gets another turn, and our Spectre's not so healthy.
this world has no place for you.
Okay, so I think we're second pick in this match. Pre-ban tea time. The opponent pre-bans Amelia. And first picks Angel of Light Angelica. So I assume they're cleaving or doing something aggressive. I always get this person, Jinx AZ, mixed up with like the Jinx smiley face. Actually, I don't know if they're like the same person, just with different accounts, or if they're two totally different people or what. So first pick Angel of Light. I assume they're cleaving, and other than that, I'm not really sure what else they might be doing. I figure Politis is a good pick here. You know, she's strong in the Angel of Light. And then I think I can also take Maid Chloe. Politis will give me a book that I can use on Chloe to Soulburn and cycle out of the silence as another potential answer. He takes ML Haste right away against the Maid. And then Landy. So he's taken two anti-Maid picks. So I'm not sure if he's still doing the cleave thing or if he's like pivoted off into just counterpicking me. It looks like it's the latter. I decided to go with Carrot here since she's another book holder for Maid. She's also strong into Landy. Although the cleanse from Angel of Light Angelica could be annoying. I still think she's good into Landy though. And then I take Pavel. I figure I can speed contest a bit because I have 2 books on my side and I also have Politis. So I can actually flex into the, you know, aggressive position.
Let me warm up.
He takes Rem and then Acid. So I feel like we kind of need to ban the Acid since that'll just outspeed my Pavel and will cause big problems. This is kind of a strange draft. I think Spectre could be good here because she hides from Rem. She can attack into Rem without, you know, getting countered. Gives me another book, more damage, etc. So we're going to have to figure some way to deal with the ML Haste, basically. But the good news is that the opponent's team is pretty squishy, so if we can kill off the damage, it doesn't really matter that ML Haste is here. And he bans Pavel. So we're kind of all in on Spectre for this match. Like I said, kind of a weird game.
Please move aside. I will deliver.
So Angel of Light Angelica gets the first turn. But here the thing is, I don't think, you know, the unbuffable and everything really matters a whole lot here. I can just hold my Maid skill 3. So I'm gonna go into, I think, Landy just to get the damage, you know, away. He doesn't have mitigation other than ML Haste. So it looks like we can kind of just chunk this Landy down and kill her.
Humans are truly foolish. I just feel sorry for them.
I wanted to save my souls for Spectre. I also didn't want to give Rem Demon Mode right away.
Oh well, the children will help.
Paula just counters back here and kills the Landy, giving Demon Mode anyways. So here I actually think it's probably correct to skill 3 with my Maid, since looking at the turn order now, my team is coming up first. Get a lucky dual attack and then an unlucky counter attack and it just kills Politis, so that's a little regrettable. But yeah, I think I should have skill 3'd with the Maid there, because it would have probably given attack buff to my Spectre. But it looks like this Rem is pretty squishy anyways. I was just afraid if I didn't kill the Rem, then I would get screwed by, you know, ML Haste just like cycling around like a madman. But I think we can just kill without it, so we go into Spectre. Having 3 books is pretty nice, and that's game.
Constant research and study.
Okay, so I think I'm facing the same guy I did several matches ago. He was the one with the high effectiveness GP. I believe he also pre-banned Angelica as well, that game. So he takes Spectre, Tenebria, and General Purgus. This is, I believe, the same opening he used in the previous game. So, I mean, I won the previous one. I feel like it was a fairly consistent strategy to win again. I don't think it's impossible for me to lose against this type of setup with the comp that I had, since his General Purgus could, you know, get the exact provokes and stuns, you know, at the right time and keep me locked down. But on the whole, it felt like he was fairly low damage, and I would be able to basically just outlast with Soul Reavers. So I go ahead and I take Landy and Maid Chloe again.
I'm not cheap. You'll regret this.
So he takes Carrot. He hovers over Kisei. I feel like another potential way to deal with this would be to bring an immunity buffer of some sort. You know, maybe like LR Crow or something like that. And that would prevent General Purgus from stunning or, you know, provoking my units. The one problem with that type of approach is that Carrot can strip. So if Carrot was able to strip away that immunity, it would kind of leave me exposed and I'd just be hosed. So I think I'd rather just go with Cleansers. He does take the Amelia. So I take Seaside Bologna, which is, I believe, what I did last time. And I debate about changing it up here. I think I was considering maybe taking DJB instead for an immunity buffer, but, you know, again, I think if it worked once, it should work again. So I just take the Ruel. It doesn't really matter what he picks here because I'm banning it. It's Operator Sigrid. I definitely can't let that through. Similar to last game, I think he picked Charlotte in this spot. Doesn't really matter. I'm pretty much just banning the 5th unless it's completely irrelevant. I anticipate he pre-bans Seaside Bologna again, and he does do that. So we get to see if I was right to be confident in this draft. As I said before, I think the way that I could lose this is if GP lands, you know, stuns at the right time, essentially. He provokes the Ruel again. My Ruel is not on immunity, but it doesn't really matter here because my Maid Chloe can just cleanse it away. I also probably don't need to really do anything with Ruel first turn anyways. I feel like the reason I wasn't super afraid of this is that, you know, the only unit he can really use to CC me is General Purgus, and I have Ruel and Maid Chloe who can both dispel, so he basically has to lock down 2 units with his one. Granted, Maid only has, you know, the 1 dispel here. For this type of matchup, I definitely wished I was on Potion Vial, though. I've been running them on Water's Origin just to make them tanky, and I feel like that's been generally better against a larger proportion of the meta than Potion Vial right now. But we'll have to see. Depending on how things go, Potion Vial may end up becoming, you know, the better choice. So we're able to lock down the Amelia, so she's pretty low effect resistance. I could heal up my Fallen Cecilia here. I decided just to do it. My Ruel has fairly long cooldowns, and so if you can use those early, that can be nice. Because then you'll cycle back around, you know, to them before the match is over. He gets a dual attack with Spectre, and that knocks Landy out of stealth, so not a great start. He soulburns General Purgus here. He gets a stun on Maid Chloe, so that's definitely a very high effectiveness General Purgus. Kind of surprised he didn't use Carrot there. I feel like he probably should have. Landy was exposed. And he had attack buff? Oh, no, I guess he already used it. Sorry, so it was on cooldown. Because he'd burned FCC the turn before. So we just go with Landy and pretty much wipe the team. Okay, this match the opponent pre-bans Violet, so he's clearly been traumatized by the casino. He first picks Fallen Cecilia. So I don't remember playing against this guy recently, so I'm not sure what he's going to do. The Violet pre-ban makes me feel like he wants to take Rem potentially, or maybe SSB or Tea Time, something like that. He wants to take some blue unit. I take Carmen and Maid Chloe. I figure I can flex into more anti-CC stuff if I need to. He takes Landy. So Landy's a good pick into me because I have Maid. Then he takes Spectre Tenebria. So that is an interesting pick. He's taken both of the early damage dealers off the board, but I feel like both of those units are pretty weak into Fire Charlotte. She does a ton of AoE damage, and she can also put up heal block. And if she gets heal block on Spectre, then the lifesteal set that most people run Spectre on these days is ineffective. So I feel like Fire Charlotte here is a pretty good pick. So I take the Fire Charlotte. I have to pick another unit. I didn't want to fully commit to taking a second fire unit though. So I could take a water unit of my own, especially since, Violet is pre-banned. I thought about Rem, but Rem feels bad into Spec Tenny. So instead I went with Seaside Bologna here. I like Seaside Bologna into Fallen Cecilia because of the buff block on her skill 3. She's another like heal block character as well. So then he takes Closer Charles. So this is an unexpected turn. He goes pretty aggressive here. Closer Charles is effectively kind of like Rose in this type of setup since I haven't really contested speed at all. I could take a speed person here 5th, but it's just going to get banned, right? So I think Closer Charles is actually a pretty good pick from the opponent. He'll be able to CR boost his team, give attack buff, and then once he gets Perception, he can do a lot of single target damage and really pressure, like my Maid or my Carmen or something like that. I take Bysaria. I thought Bysaria was really good into this team. She's pretty fast. I don't know if the opponent knows that. And if my Bysaria gets a turn, she can basically put attack down and unbuffable on his team, and then he'd be pretty screwed. But I expected her to get banned since, the opponent is pretty weak to Bysaria. So we're essentially relying on my ability to out-tank this damage.
I will remove any and all obstacles.
So Closer Charles goes, he's like 9k, almost 10k HP, so probably a fairly high damage build. Or at least a fast one.
Requesting approval.
So now Landy goes, and that's going to push up the team. Overall, I think I like the draft from my opponent. This is a lot of damage coming out.
Easy on you.
We do get to bat back with our Seaside Bologna, but it doesn't really do a lot into the FCC shields. I'm just really hoping I can get a turn with Carmen so that I can put up invincibility on my team. Unfortunately, that gets Carmen below 50%, and so, or 30% or whatever it is, so that's going to bump up Closer Charles, and that's really problematic since even if I res Carmen with Maid, I don't think she's going to get a turn.
Let's start with something light.
Yeah, because my Maid is going to go before Charles goes. I still have to use skill 3 here. We need to bring mitigation back up and also, just put revive on my team.
I will personally
I did get a defense break on Landy, which is pretty huge.
away with you.
So we skill 1 with Charlotte there, pop Landy out of stealth, do a good chunk of damage. So you get to see Closer Charles's damage here. Pretty decent, into or into Adamant Shield there from Carmen. And also, you have to keep in mind she has like super high defense, right? So I think that was a decent amount of damage from him. So now he's going to go into SSB, I assume, and get rid of that, revive buff off of her. So that's 9k into SSB. She does come back, but Spectre has Soulburn, and so he can just Soulburn into her. And unfortunately that kills, so we don't get the bad back from SSB. Maid comes back with Revive. I think I decided to bop Landy here, and we do get the stun, which is nice.
The swamp has arrived.
So I skill 3, I just want to get out as much damage as possible, and I want to get heal block. I didn't see if that Stenny was lifesteal or not. We do hit the Closer Charles and kill him, and honestly just wipe his entire team with that skill 3 there. So Fire Charlotte can do a lot of damage.
I'll show you what I
We even have revive buff on her, so we're very safe.
Kneel before me and pay your respects. Away with you.
So Symbol of Unity also nice going into evasion as well. And that is game, and I think this one got us to legend. Yep, awesome. Thanks for watching.